Hi, everybody. Okay, so continuing with the CIA triad, let's look at integrity. When we talk about threats to integrity, we are concerned about whether our data has been modified. There are a couple ways that can happen. One way is through corruption, which is accidental or unintentional modification. Maybe it happens because there's interference on the line, or something happens as data traverses Great Lakes, for example. Another way is through malicious modification. That's intentional. For example, an attacker inserts malware into a file that's get downloaded, or somebody captures a packet in transit and makes modifications to it. Or maybe they alter a communication and change a session header or a source ID. All of that is threat against integrity. Corruption is easier to detect than malicious modification. So when we're just looking to protect against corruption, we use hashes or hashing. Another word for a hash is a message digest, and another word is a checksum. Those three words might be used together. They're all good methods to use for unintentional modification. But with malicious modification, we have to be more robust with our security controls. That's because if an attacker can modify the data, they may be able to modify the security controls. For this, we have a MAC, or Message Authentication Code, or a digital signature. We'll cover all of these things in more detail in the cryptography chapter. If we want to protect the integrity of log files and audit records, we can use write once media to make sure they can't be modified. Baseline images can be put on write once media also, and hashes can be used with images as well. And then the last of the security principles in the CIA triad is availability. This means having timely access to resources. So the most common attack against availability is a denial of service attack. A denial of service (DOS) attack has to do with overwhelming a server so that it is so busy responding to my illegitimate requests that it can't respond to a legitimate request. It could also be someone unplugging a server in the server room. But the ones we are going to look at have to do with the resource overload. Now, if a single system can cause a resource overload, what about if an attacker took over 10 or 100 or 10,000 systems? That's what happens in a distributed denial of service, or DDoS attack. The attacker gets malicious software on the systems without zombies or botnets, which launch downstream attacks. Lots of attacks look like that. Another type of issue with availability is just failure. Failure of devices or resources. It could be caused by a natural disaster like a fire or a hurricane that causes power outages, or even something like an employee strike can affect availability. But you can also have something like a ransomware attack, which means your data is not available. There are all sorts of ways that availability can suffer. The answer to keeping availability alive is redundancy, and along with that, go with the ideas of resiliency and fault tolerance. The idea there is to withstand an attack and keep going on even if you have been attacked. We also list backups here, but when you think about availability, you have to be really comprehensive. And backups only work for data. We'll talk about other solutions for availability of hardware and software later.